Hey guys, Kit here of Burn 1 with a new deck profile. Like I said, I'm going to be showing off my current Konosuba build. I've had a few people ask questions about it, and now that I feel like it's in a place that it's good enough to at least show you what the build is like, I figured I'd throw the video out so people can start experimenting a little bit more with Konosuba and the new cards in it. So this is the exact list I used to win 2 shop challenges in my area, one at FTG in Indiana, and then the other one at Anime Egg Roll at St. Louis. So I'll just go ahead and get into the build itself. So first off, this is one of the main level 0 beaters here. It's the Swimsuit Megumin. It's 3/5 and it has a secondary, or 2 effects actually. One is the demerit, which is you can't play backups or events from your hand when this is on the field, which usually isn't a big problem because we're not looking to really save anything important at level 1 or 0 like that. And even at level 2, most of the times we're not going to be using any of our events or backups that we do run. One thing to consider though, this card does become a hindrance if you do decide to play the 1/0 Megumin counter from set 1. Besides that though, it's a pretty solid card. It randomly pluses you 1 because when this card gets reversed, you have to mill the top card of your deck, and if that card's level 2 or higher, you can choose to rest this card. So occasionally you can get like a +1 or +2 out of this, or you can like trade at level 0 with another 3/5 your opponent has out, and then this has a chance of coming back. And this also does mill your deck a little bit as well early on to, you know, get you through that good refresh point that you're looking for at level 1. Next, of course, we're running 4 board game Megumin. So what's really powerful about this card in the deck, normally you won't see many lists running a lot of this level 0 Megumin. Usually you can find maybe 2, maybe decks that run 3, just because it can randomly give you a +1 and also discard a climax from your hand on play to salvage a character, I believe an adventure trait or magic trait character. So what makes this card pretty powerful in this list at least is that because we don't have access to a lot of the promos that Japan has for Konosuba right now, this is a really good supplementary beater to the 3/5 because you're not really looking to always clear your board. In some cases when you go first, this is a pretty good play as well. What you want to do is preserve an attacker because most matchups with this list, you want to be the aggressor for the most part. So you're looking to build extra stock early on and extra damage early on, because if you're able to get some extra stock and some extra damage, it puts your deck in a really good position, since every extra stock that you generate, if your board is set up properly early on, just translates into a +1 and a -4 for your deck every turn. Next, this is a card we use to set up our level 1 game and, you know, burn through the deck a little bit quicker to set up the good refresh. It's the Nuisance Megumin. So when this card goes from field to waiting room, you can discard a card from your hand to look at up to the top 4 cards of your deck and add a magic trait to your hand from those cards. So this card has a little bit of drawback because we do mix some goddess trait characters and some characters that don't have magic trait at all in this current list. So there are occasions where you neg 1 because you just happen to reveal like 2 climaxes and like 2 aqua cards, and then you're just kind of screwed from there. But fortunately, since the list does run 2 of the Union level 0 back row in most cases, if you do -1 here, doesn't feel as bad as it should, but it still, of course, always feels bad when you can't get a card from this. And a lot of the times when you are doing this late in the game and running this in places, you're looking more for the mill than anything else than really fixing your hand. Some key cards to look out for when you do use this effect is your level 1 game, of course, the level 0 Megumin, or not level 0 Megumin, the level 0 Union that does plus to hand and things like that. It's a really good way to find your 1-ofs and things like that, because a lot of the 1-ofs we do run in this list have magic trait, or actually, yeah. So a lot of the key tech cards you're looking for necessarily are magic traded characters, so this can help pull those cards out if you need it. Next, this is a little bit for the blue fixing, as well as both effects are very powerful. So the first effect is on play, reveal the top card of your deck. If it's an adventure trait or goddess trait character or axis trait character, you can add it to your hand. Second effect, which is pretty powerful in the right situations, is on play, pay 2, refresh your deck for free. So you don't really use this card that often for the refresh ability, but there are certain cases where like really randomly you'll be out like 7, turn like 3 into the game. This is one way to put yourself back in a position that doesn't feel bad, as well as, you know, anytime you do pay 2 to do a free refresh, it's technically in my book heal 1, since you do what's it called, you do delay your refresh point a little longer, and every time you do that, of course, I feel like it's plus, not +1, but free heal sort of thing. But like I said, this is mostly used for blue fix, because we want to make sure by level 2 we have some blue out somewhere. And then of course the second effect is a pretty good, or actually both effects are pretty solid effects to have on a level 0. Downside is that it is not magic trait, and it is also only 1k, so you're not really looking to beat anything with this 1k power. Just very solid utility card. Next, the card that makes the deck work no matter what scenario you're in here, we have this level 0 Union, Ambush Union, I believe. And this card is like the linchpin of the deck. This is exactly why Konosuba can work the way it does. So the first effect, which is you actually won't use it very often in this deck, but of course there are situations where you do have to use it, and also it gives you the opportunity to clock yourself if someone tries to stop you from being level 1 early. So it's basically Ricky's. So you pay 1 and then clock yourself from the top of your deck, and then search your deck for a level 3 Megumin, specifically the set 1 Megumin, which is this one. You add this to your hand through that effect. And then the second effect, which is what makes it so powerful here, is that it has a resonance effect, which is pay 1, reveal the level 3 Megumin that it also Ricky's for. And then tap this card to look at up to the top 4 cards of your deck and add 1 adventure trait or magic trait character to your hand. So this is the card that brings a lot of consistency to Konosuba, and as well as like how the deck plays out, because you do not have a lot of selectivity in this deck, but because you build a lot of extra stock in this deck and you're pretty aggressive, you always have stock to at least, generally you have 2 of these in the back row, so every turn you could pay 2 to +2 and always find beaters and stuff like that. That's why in this list you can get away with having a lot more higher level 3 cards and have a lot more triggers in your list to make it more aggressive, because this card, as long as you're able to get 1 to 2 out very early, can sustain your hand, as well as always give you attackers to be on the field. I think without this card, Konosuba suddenly drops in a lot of power, at least for the magic trait version of the deck. That concludes all the level 0s. So the main game plan at level 1 is this Bunny Girl Union. So this card is unintentionally super powerful because it synergizes so well with this level 0 Union. So the first effect, it gains 2k power if your entire field is magic. Most of our cards here are magic, and most of the cards we're looking to field, especially early on, are going to be magic trait. So this card is usually a 106k since it gains 2000 power from it. What makes it so great is that it has a climax combo that combos with gate, with the red gate. Of course, this is a really amazing trigger to have, since it does include or increase your consistency, and as well as you can randomly plus from an attack. But on top of that, this climax combo with this, making it 7k, is when this card's battle opponent is reversed and this climax is in the climax zone, you can blind stock 1 from the top of your deck and then reveal the next card, and if that card is level 1 or higher, you add it to your hand. It doesn't matter what trait it is, it only matters about the level. So what makes this so powerful is that this card is unintentionally, I think, I don't know if they really thought about how this corresponds with this union when they first did it. I'm sure they probably did, but what's so great about this card is it's generally a +2 on every reverse, because the blind stock that you do generate is just 1 more stock that turns into a card by using this level 0 union's effect. Because of that, anytime you reveal a card and you add it to your hand, you just technically went +2 from this attack, which is really powerful in my opinion. And of course, the extra stock does help build you towards your late game, which is in some cases you need like 12 stock to like do ideal finisher moments, but you can get away in this list with, I think, as little as 7 stock or so, and still be able to be very impactful late game. So in combination with the trigger and the fact that this card can randomly +2, and actually, 6k base power is decent. It's enough to like kind of scare off some stuff. But of course, how the meta is shaping currently, having 6k power on defense doesn't mean a lot nowadays. But it's still, if you play against anyone that's playing some kind of like rogue deck or janky deck that can't really get over 6k power, like for example, Apocrypha has a level 1 combo that doesn't always get over 6k, so they either end up trading and losing their character, or they have to like play buffers on the field. And usually, if someone's playing some kind of buffer on the field, that especially ones that are on attack give power somewhere, you usually plus in a different lane, which feels good at least. So yeah, your main game plan is to get that out and abuse it as much as possible. Next, we do run 3 1-0 nice explosion Megumin. So what's great about this card is that it's a level 1 that is a level 1 reverser. So it does get rid of things that are kind of annoying for us to deal with. So if you're playing against standby and stuff like that, and they have like 7/5 walls, you can just play this in front of it and run it in, and at least force them to reverse that character and either expend a card to save it or something like that. The second part, what makes this so good, is that it has hand encore. So in situations where you get hit to level 1 first, you can play these out, and usually 3k is enough to beat like a lot of level 0s that aren't like power beaters. So you can use this to reverse level 0s, and then on the backswing they will lose their character, and then you can hand encore it again to gain another attacker next turn, because this deck does have a lot of level 2s and 3s in the amount we run. So sometimes it's kind of hard to find level 1s to attack with. So this can help sustain your hand, as well as, on the backswing, running into this feels worse than actually having them run into you. Besides that, it's just a really solid card all around, and it helps us put our deck in situations where our opponent's playing really hard around our level 1 combo by like clearing their board or something for whatever reason. You can put these out into empty slots and make them feel bad for that. And of course, it's the option to reverse it's an option to reverse, so you can always bait your opponent into front attacking it, killing it, and choosing not to reverse their opponent, and then the following turn you play the Union to get the plus off of it. A really solid card. So currently we play one of this 2-1 counter. It's a 3k counter that also, when you use it, you if you reverse the battle opponent, you send it to memory. This is a tech card I'm currently messing around with, mostly for certain matchups like Gurren Lagann and other things like that. This card isn't very, very powerful in itself right now. At least that's how I feel because of the current meta around my area. Of course, your mileage may vary. Some cases you might want to cut this and play the 1-0 Megumin counter from set 1 that lets you kill higher level characters, especially if your meta is mostly like Sunshine and early plays. That card is very, very powerful because of your level 0 lineup. It's technically like pay 2 to kill a character, essentially, because discarding 2 cards from your hand is essentially just paying 2 more stock, because your level 0 Union is able to generate 1 card to your hand for every stock you play. So yeah, I currently played this. It's been basically hit or miss. It's like I said, mileage may vary. Right now I'm not going to cut it for a little bit, but it's probably one of the first cards I'm considering to cut. Next, one of the key parts of the deck is the seizure of property or private property. So this counter is really, really powerful. I think this is the first time they ever printed an effect like this in all of Weiss, but there have been cards that are similar, but this is a little bit different. So here, when you can use this as a counter because it does have the punch. So what you do is have your opponent count all their stock, and then put all of that into the waiting room. And at the end of the next turn, or at the next end step, basically, then they add all the stock back. So you can counter during your opponent's attack to stop them from doing climax combos. So like if you're afraid of a Yukina, you just pay 3, now they have no stock, and then at the end of the turn they add all the stock back from their deck, so you can snipe climaxes that way. One of the best ways to use this card is in combination with our level 3 Aqua, which I'll get to in a little bit about how the combo exactly, how strong it actually is. But you can force all the cards into their waiting room and then force them to refresh, which is really, really strong. It's definitely one of the reasons you want to be playing Konosuba. Next, this might be a little bit much. In my Japanese version, I only run 3, but in my English version, I do run 4 of this Aqua. This is another card that you can probably cut to 3 if you don't feel like it's doing a lot of work for you. But essentially, this is like a no condition early play level 3. So if you have 4 more other characters on the board, you can play this from your hand at level 2, since it does lose 1 level in your hand. On play, you can discard a card from your hand to take the top card of your clock and put it to stock. And essentially, this is a pay to heal 1 sort of deal, like I said, because of the level 0 union, or whenever your hand has like a lot of hand because you've been hitting all your level 1 union combos. It's a really solid card. It lets you kind of stabilize at level 2 a little bit, and also fight back early play level 3s, at least some of them. So on attack, this card also gains, or I think it's on your turn or on attack. Let me double check here. During your turn, all your characters are adventure, goddess, or access church devotee. This card gains 2,000 power. So during your turn, this gains 2,000 power, so it's 11k base. Usually with a climax, 12k. 12k beater at level 2 is alright. If they use a counter, it kind of sucks, but you don't feel as bad because you do get that heal off and everything like that. Very solid early play that gives you some value, at least when you play it. Next, so this is the card that helps set up everything. So this is the set 1 Megumin. If you don't know it already, it's on play. Look at up to top 3 cards of your deck, add 1 to hand, discard the rest. Secondary effect, climax combo with the stock soul. The start of your attack phase, you can pay 1 and rest this card. If you do, your opponent takes 4 damage, and then the card in front of this, you pick it and send it to clock. So this has some bad matchups currently in English. First thing that comes to mind is Attack on Titan, because if they do get the back row out that prevents you from targeting things, you can't send it to clock. But you need to run this card because it does interact with your level 0 Union Resonance. What's so powerful about this card, which I think a lot of people always kind of forget this or don't value it as much as I do, which is the top check 3, add 1 to hand. Because you can add anything, or it digs deeper into your deck, you don't have to hold on to climaxes as often as you think you do. And then also it can find your event cards as well, which is the reason I only run 2 of the 2/3 Seizure of Private Property event, which is, I think, a very powerful card. In some cases, I think I see lists running with 3, which I think is wasting 1 slot, since your level 1 union and this card can find it for you. And then it just adds so much consistency at level 3. There are games where you have like 2 of these in hand, and you can tri-field them. You'll play 1 top check, find the climax, play the second one, find a third one, play the third one, and then like get another card to your hand or the event to your hand, and then play the event, and then play your Aqua level 3 and like ruin someone's day completely. This is a very powerful combo because if they're at 3-0, if any of the burn 4s go through and they have a full field, they generally die because you get 3 clock kicks from it. Very solid card. I think it's weaker than the Japanese version just because of how the meta currently developed in English. But it's still good enough that I win games on like tri-fielding this, or games where I play like 1 or 2 and then set up some really good board states. There's also times where like you can mill to your entire deck and have like 5 cards left in your deck with like 4 climaxes or 3 climaxes, and you just do the combo because you don't actually attack with this card. You don't trigger, so then your 5-card deck with 4 climaxes is going to survive, going to let you live another turn, which is a lot of fun. So because we're able to have some of the cool promo cards that are currently available in Japanese that combo with the stock soul in the deck, to kind of even that out, because the deck does starve a lot or need a lot of stock. So if you're in a bad situation where you couldn't build enough stock or anything like that, I run 3 of this Megumin. So what's so special about this Megumin is that the first effect, she gains fire and power for every other character. But the second effect is what makes it such a powerful card, on top of having a finishing effect that requires no climax. So when you play this card, you can play another character of your level or lower for free. So you can play cards like play this and play this. So you paid 2 stock to play 2 level 3s, and then this gets you a card, so it replaces itself, which is really, really powerful. And there are situations where you can be like, play this, then play this for free, and through this one's effect, you play this for free, and then you play a 3rd level 3 or a 4th level 3 through the last card's effect, which is pretty powerful, especially in situations where you have to manage your stock a little bit better. The last ability, which makes this card very scary because of how the deck actually works. It's on attack, you can pay 3 and discard 2 cards from your hand. If you do, your opponent takes 5 damage. Of course, it can be canceled, but with how the deck works, a lot of times this 5 damage doesn't cancel very often, and a lot of times if you do the burn 5, you can like snipe a climax that's early on and then swing in for like 3 or 4, and then your opponent feels very bad. This card is really important. I think this card, you can't cut it any more than like having 3. And sometimes I feel like I need to have this at 4, but I'm not sure yet because I'm messing around with a little bit other tech that generally no one uses, but I think is really powerful in its own right. So the tech that I'm mostly talking about here is I do play 2 level 3 Eris. So in the Japanese version, I only run 1 Aqua level 3, which I think is a very important card. And I found out that the hardest place to get Aqua from consistently is from my waiting room. So what's so bad about, or what's so good about this synergy here is that this also helps your burn 5s go through, as well as your burn 4s go through, because it decompresses your opponent so much. This level 3 Aqua does, that you can expect bigger numbers to go through. So there are situations where your opponent will play around this by either crashing their board or putting characters out that can't be targeted. And in those cases, of course, it's not a very good idea to be playing this card out because you lose out on the clock kick. So in that scenario, we play these 2 other cards here as our secondary finishers, I would say. But like I was saying about Aqua, it's always really hard to pull her from waiting room without having like a very good hand already set up to do something like that. So I've been teching this card in, even though it's off trait, so you can't search for it or grab it through the unions and stuff like that, or the level 0 Megamins. So the best way to get this card always is usually through hitting a gate trigger, or when you play one of these level 3s, you can top check 3, and sometimes you see this, you grab this. You grab the Eris, and then you play the Eris to grab the Aqua out of the waiting room, and then play the Aqua for the reshuffle effect. I'll get to the reshuffle effect in a second. So, like I was saying, this is our secondary finisher. It doesn't require climax. The only sad part about it is, of course, it's basically like a coin flip card where you have to pass a top check, and if you do, then you can basically restand for very little cost. So in situations where our opponent like plays around a lot of stuff, this is a really good way to like swing in with no climax into empty spots for 3, then restand it, then swing in for 4. Those are some really spooky turns for your opponent if they don't expect to have to play around a double striking card as well. This card, it's been hit or miss on how good it is. I can't tell just yet. Because one of the things about this deck is I do run 2 Aquas instead of 1 like the Japanese one, but I still like this package here in the deck because it's beneficial in a lot of weird scenarios that you wouldn't really imagine, and also helps in situations where you need to, like, for example, play this, you salvage this Megumin, play the Megumin, play the second one from your hand for free, and then you filled your entire board, and then you salvage another card, of course. And then you played, was it four stock total to play 3 level 3s, and all of them have like a decent cost to do extra damage. So the stock that this builds by itself automatically makes it so they could double strike, whereas this you just need like 3 extra stock, and then you'll be able to burn 5 as well in a turn and like pump out 6 attacks in 1 turn, which I feel is pretty powerful with how the deck currently plays. Then, like I said, I play 2 of this level 3 set 1 Aqua. We play it, the only reason we play it, we don't play the climax combo, is the secondary effect it has, which is on play you can pay 1 extra stock, then your opponent picks 2 climaxes in their waiting room and shovels everything back in. So if your opponent unfortunately has a bad misstep at level 3 where like they double trigger and they have like 3 climaxes in their waiting room already, and like a lot of cards, you can play this, slam it to the board, decompress them really bad because they only shovel it back in 1 climax, into their deck from their waiting room. So they're out 4. So there's like 4 climaxes and like 30 to like 35 cards, which really, really hurts. And that's the reason why cards like this that burn for 5 feel okay in this deck, and like the set 1 Megum that burns for 4. You can expect those 5s and 4s to go through a little bit more often than not, as well as, like I said, playing this and they having a misstep, also being able to get the restand on this in open lanes feels very, very powerful, because even though you're going to be swinging for big numbers, they're so decompressed from the level 3 Aqua that, like I said, like these 3s, 4s, 5s are expected to go through more often than not after the decompression. It has a top effect too, which your opponent can use events or backups in battle with this card. Or is events included in this during this card's battle? Your opponent cannot play backups from hand. Oh, sorry, it's only backups. They can still play events and stuff like that. But still, very strong, solid card in my opinion. It's the reason why this stuff works here. So I'm going to talk about the combo here that's really, really spooky. So this kind of combo here requires to have like 12 stock or a little bit more than that maybe. So generally what happens here is you want to play this during main phase usually. What happens here is your opponent should have clean stock, and a lot of decks are looking to build 9 to 10 stock to go off during their finishing turn. So they say they have 10 clean stock, you do this, now they put 10 clean stock into their waiting room. That's 10 more potential damage. You end up playing this. After playing this, it shuffles everything back into their deck. They're extra decompressed because of this card, putting 10 cards that shouldn't have been put into their deck back into their deck as well, making it so your bigger number swings feel way more powerful. Because of that, the combination of these two together is super, super powerful. But like I said, you need something like 12 or 13 stock or something ridiculous like that to be able to combo like 3 of these with this, along with this. It's pretty stock heavy. That's why the deck looks to build a lot of extra stock also. So games where you're able to keep hand size up without having to spend a lot of stock always feels really good, because you can always go for that kill. I've killed a lot of people from like 2-3 and 2-4 just because of the combination of those 2 cards, and then dropping 3 Megamins that burn 4 and clock kick. Those are really, really powerful turns, and you know your opponent at that point is very afraid of that happening. Next, we play 4 gates, obviously, and 4 stock souls. The reason I play stock soul over the second gate, because I know the Worlds list ran 8 gates. I played that list a bunch before Worlds. I did not like it at all, because I just felt like playing a climax that doesn't get me anything out of it other than power and an extra soul doesn't feel very good in this deck, because I'm looking to build extra stock every turn I can. So I found out that I just rather go back to this stock soul and play, instead of playing only like 2 of the level 3 Megamin, I play the full 4 set, because I still think it's a decent enough card in every other matchup that you can use it as a finisher. And then having the stock soul as well helps you build an extra stock. So the stock that it generated from playing this climax actually replaces your climax technically through the union effect. And if you don't need to because you hit a gate or something, you're back to 7 cards. The next turn, you don't really have to worry that much, because you built the stock off of this card to basically replace itself. So the stock that it builds generally ends up helping you keep hand size as well, instead of having a gate and you have to attack and trigger the gate to be able to get hand size back that way. And then, of course, crit triggers where there's 2 soul triggers always feels good when that stuff goes through. Alright, so that is that for the deck. If you guys have any questions, let me know. This video has gone on like 10 minutes longer than I wanted it to go on. I need to get better at making shorter deck profile videos. If there's anything you guys would like to add or ask about this deck, just go ahead and comment below, and we'll go from there. Otherwise, I hope to see you guys in the next video. Later. Thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoy our channel, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe, as it does help our channel grow. Or you can reach out to us at any of the following social media links below. See you guys in the next video.